chapter 38. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set your face toward Gog, out of the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I am against you, O Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn you about, and put hooks into your jaws, and I will bring you forth, and all your army, horses and horsemen, and all them clothed most gorgeously, a great company with buckler and shield, all of them handling swords. Persia, Cush, and Put, with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah in the uttermost parts of the north, and all his bands, even many peoples with you. Be you prepared, and prepare for yourself, you, and all your company that are assembled unto you, and be you guarded of them. After many days you shall be mustered for service. In the latter years you shall come against the land that is brought back from the sword, that is gathered out of many peoples, against the mountains of Israel, which have been a continual waste. But it is brought forth out of the peoples, and they dwell safely, all of them. And you shall ascend, you shall come like a storm, you shall be like a cloud, cover the land, you and all your bands, and many peoples with you. Thus saith the Lord God, It shall come to pass in that day, that things shall come in your mind, and you shall devise an evil device, and you shall say, I will go up against the land of unwalled villages, I will come upon them that are quiet, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls, and having neither bars nor gates, to take the spoil, and to take the prey, and to turn your hand against the waste places that are not inhabited, and against the people that are gathered out of the nations, that have gotten cattle and goods, that dwell in the middle of the earth. Sheba and Dedan and all the merchants of Tarshish, with all the magnates thereof, shall say unto you, Comest you to take the spoil? Have you assembled your company to take the prey, to carry away silver and gold, to take away cattle and goods, to take great spoil? Therefore, Son of man, prophesy and say unto Gog, Thus saith the Lord God, In that day when my people Israel dwelleth safely, you shall not know it. And you shall come from your place out of the uttermost parts of the north, you and many peoples with you, all of them riding upon horses, a great company and a mighty army. And you shall come up against my people Israel, as a cloud to cover the land. It shall be in the end of days, and I will bring you against my land, that the nations may know me, when I shall be sanctified through you, O Gog, before their eyes. Thus saith the Lord God, Are you he of whom I spoke in old time by my servants the prophets of Israel, that prophesied in those days for many years, that I would bring you against them? And it shall come to pass in that day, when Gog shall come against the land of Israel, saith the Lord God, that my fury shall rise up in my nostrils, for in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath have I spoken. Surely in the day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel, so that the fishes of the sea, and the fowls of the heaven, and the beasts of the field, and all the creeping things that creep upon the ground, and all the men that are upon the face of the earth, shall shake at my presence. And the mountains shall be thrown down, and the steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground. And I will call for a sword against him throughout all my mountains, saith the Lord God. Every man's sword shall be against his brother. And I will plead against him with the pestilence and with blood, and I will cause to rain upon him, and upon his bands, and upon the many peoples that are with him, an overflowing shower, and great hailstones, fire and brimstone. Thus will I magnify myself, and sanctify myself, and I will make myself known in the eyes of many nations, and they shall know that I am the Lord. All right, let's go back up to verse 1. Last chapter, we remember this work of God that he was trying to make known in his understanding. We'll find out that in this valley of bones, these ones that have been slain by God, these ones that have been thrown there in the valley, these are all those that have fell to idolatry. These represent those that have fell in sin. They've fell through idolatry. God has slain them, and God has brought, because see, this is a similitude, and what it represents is God has the ability to resurrect you in your death, in that you have sinned, see, and because in the hour you sinned, you died, and you were slain by the law of God. But if you will turn, see, God calling to you, even in the grave, even there in your grave, God calls to you, saying, turn and seek me and my law, and you shall live. And God, because he has the ability to resurrect. We finished up now with this example of these sticks, and these sticks, they represent the two houses of Israel, these two kingdoms that have been divided now. Because we'll find out there are two kings, and the kingdoms are going to be made one, though. Because the prophecies, this last prophecy we have, we'll find out now, it's against the one who tries to maintain the other kingdom. God has a way, though, of turning it all around, and we'll find out he did. He's going to take the sticks, and he's going to make them a great work and a marvelous work, and they both have become a witness, see, in the earth, and they become one work in God's hand, and in the hand of him whom God appoints the work. We'll find out. This is going to be Levi, because we're getting ready to rebuild the temple, see, but we have one more judgment we're going to have to get out of the way, and we're going to pick that up here in verse 1. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, and these are the words of God, they're written right here, and they ain't going nowhere. Son of man, set your face toward Gog of the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him. Son of man, this one from the beginning, God give you the law in the beginning, and those that can hear the law, even those from the beginning, have the law within them, and it's written upon your heart. Set your face toward Gog, and prophesy against him, and against Gog. He's the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and we'll find out he's the chief prince of those that dragged away and left the mark, and that's how they'll be brought. See, just like they drug off the stuff that belonged to God. We'll find out this. And Gog means mountain. Gog is a foreign word for a mountain, or a high place even. Gog was this chief prince. He was this chief prophetic prince that reigned over Meshech and Tubal, this kingdom. See, God called everybody by name even from the beginning. And Magog is just simply the land where Gog reigns over, and we'll find out this Gog, he represents the false prophet who hides here in the earth, just like God said. He's hiding in the river, and this is that great river of understanding, and he hides there like a dragon, and he's been referred to as this dragon before, but he is this false prophet. He is the chief prince of those that are going to be dragged off. 3, and say, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I am against you, O Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. Thus saith the Lord God, behold, look, watch and see, I am against you, O chief prince, O you lying prophet, you chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. And we'll find out that those are those that's going to be dragged off. That's how they'll be brought. They'll be leaving a mark behind them when they're dragged off. 4, and I will turn you about, and put hooks into your jaws, and will bring you forth, and all your army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed most gorgeously, a great company with buckler and shield, all of them handling swords. All of them that are handling the sword, because we'll find out this is to be able to work these judgments, or to work judgment in the earth. And I will turn you about, and put hooks into your jaws. And these hooks that are in their jaws, and this jaw refers to that soft place there on your face on each side. These hooks are more like a ring, so he can put a something in there like you would do a horse. It's not a bit, though. It's a ring that would be put in the jaw, or a hooked barbed instrument that's stuck through there, so that we can guide you like a horse. And I will bring you forth, and all your armies, and all your army, horses and horsemen, and all them clothed most gorgeously. So a splendid looking, great, mighty army. We'll find out that's exactly what they look like, is this great, mighty, splendid looking army. All of them are horses and horsemen, mighty, having great strength, and those to ride upon them. And they're clothed most gorgeously, and they're a great company. There's a mighty army, a buckler and shield, with the buckler and the shield. And this buckler refers to these pointed objects that they can use for weapons, these sharp pointed objects. They're truce. They're like little truce with the shield. They have made a covenant. All of them are handling the sword, are in judgment, are for the judgment. 5. Persia, Cush, and Put with them, all of them with shield and helmet. And Persia is a word that means pure. Cush is darkness, and Put is a bow. And that's basically what they are. There's pure darkness in their strengths. And these bows, and all of them, they have a shield and a helmet. And this shield represents a covenant, an agreement that protects you. And this helmet is a covering over your head to protect your understanding. 6. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah in the uttermost parts of the north, and all his bands, even many peoples with you. Gomer, Gomer means is complete, or to make an end of, and because that's what God intends to do, is make an end of all this. And he's of the house of Togarmah. Togarmah is where she was broken, and that's where she'll be broken. All these God appointed from the beginning, their names, in the uttermost parts of the north, out of their judgments. And these north is always in represents of judgment. It's that place where God stores up his treasures of judgment, and they come down out of the north, all his bands, even many peoples with you. He's speaking directly to Gog, and Gog is that false prophet. Be you prepared. 7. Be you prepared, and prepare for yourself, you, and all your company that are assembled unto you, and be you guarded of them. Get ready, be prepared for yourself. See, get all your company ready, all of you, because see, God has decided this. God's prepared this battle. God did all this, all the work of God. 8. After many days you shall be mustered for service. In the latter years you shall come against the land that is brought back from the sword, that is gathered out of many peoples, against the mountains of Israel, which have been a continual waste. But it is brought forth out of the peoples, that they dwell safely, all of them. And after these many days, you shall be mustered for service. God's going to call upon you. See, God's had you held back. God had you, what God has done, he has just held you for a purpose. You don't know what's going on. God's made you as ignorant as he did everybody else. And you will be mustered in the latter years, in the latter days of these understandings. See, in the greater understandings of all of it, God is going to muster you once again for your battles against the land that is brought back from the sword. And that is, we'll find, where God has brought his children back out of Babylon. But we'll find out evil ones once again return and come against all those that was dwelling safely in the land in God's kingdom. And this is what it's a similitude of. It is the future. It's what happens where the false prophet once again returns. Because, see, God sought to make a full end of him. 9. And you shall ascend. You shall come like a storm. You shall be like a cloud to cover the land. You and all your bands and many peoples with you. And you shall ascend. You shall come like a storm. This storm, with lightnings and judgments, and you shall be like a cloud. This is a confusion in the land. This is a confusion even to all the people, you and all your bands, and many peoples with you. Because that's who we're talking about, is the false prophet, and he has spread this confusion in the land, this cloud with his bands and his many peoples. These represent all the nations, but God gathered them all together. See, God is mustering the host because God had a plan from the beginning to show himself great, and that's what God is doing, magnifying himself. Thus saith the Lord God, it shall come to pass in that day, that things shall come into your mind, and you shall devise an evil device, and it shall come to pass in that day, and it did come to pass in that day, and things shall come into your mind, that these things, and they did come into their mind, and they did devise an evil device. See, we'll find out this device is an image. 11. And you shall say, I will go up against the land of unwalled villages. I will come upon them that are quiet, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls, and having neither bars nor gates. And this was in that day that they did come up against the children of Israel, those ones who was contending with the mighty one. It was God was punishing them. God was dealing with them. But we'll see, they came up against them. They were dwelling without walls. There were no enclosures. 12. To take the spoil and to take the prey, to turn your hand against the waste places that are not now inhabited, against the people that are gathered out of the nations that have gotten cattle and goods, that dwell in the middle of the earth. But you come to take the prey and to turn your works against the waste places that are now inhabited, against these places where God was restoring. See, when God was restoring, and he had brought his people back to their understanding and to their knowledge, and they had gotten them cattle and goods, and they was dwelling within the midst of the earth. God had everything restored. 13. Sheba and Dedan and merchants of Tarshish with all the magnates thereof shall say unto you, comest you to take the spoil? Hast you assembled your company to take the prey, to carry away silver and gold, to take away cattle and goods, to take great spoil? Sheba and Dedan. Sheba is that means seven, or Sheba means oath. Sheba means this oath, and Dedan is the low country, and that is that agreement, that oath, even there in the low country, and that's referring to that place of the flesh. And these ones who are the merchants there, these would be the merchants and all their magnates, these magnates, these important ones. They're all their business people and all the merchants of the city. All these that take part in this. Tarshish is that gold that ain't gold. It's that fool's gold, or these place of stones that are yellow, that are not gold. Are you come to take the spoil? Have you assembled your company to take the prey, to carry away the silver and the gold, all this that's passed through the fire, and all this that belongs to God anyway, and to take away all the cattle and the goods and the great spoil that the people have gathered back to theirself? 14. Therefore, Son of man, prophesy and say unto Gog, thus saith the Lord God, in the day when my people Israel dwelleth safely, shall you not know it? In that day when God caused his people to dwell safely, you didn't know it. See, God has control over all these things. O Gog, you false prophet, you've one that's hid yourself there in the flesh. We'll find out. God's been trying to point this out for a long time. He's the same like Nebuchadnezzar, this prophet that protects the crown. He's the one. He's the false prophet. They're the ones that was teaching peace, peace, peace in the city when God brought even the king of Babylon in and took it over. It's the same one. It's just the same as this comparison made by Egypt. He's all one. He's that great dragon that was in the river. It's all the same. God. 15. And you shall come from your place out of the uttermost parts of the north, you and many peoples with you, all of them riding upon horses, a great company and a mighty army. And you shall come from your place, that place that God appointed to you, from out of the north, out of them uttermost parts of the north, out of these dark places even of judgment, you and many peoples with you, because once again, see, the transgressors are reaching their full in these ways of idolatry, all of them riding upon their horses in their strengths and their great company and a mighty army, All of them, because God, once again, is going to magnify himself. 16. And you shall come up against my people Israel, as a cloud covers the land, and it shall be in the end of days, and I will bring you against my land, that the nations may know me, when I shall be sanctified through you, O Gog, before their eyes. And you shall come up against my people Israel. You shall come up against those ones that contend with the mighty one, as a cloud to cover the land. Just like a cloud to cover the land, this great confusion that God sent in all the earth, just like he said he was going to do. It's done through the false prophet. See, it was done through the false prophet, that one that God said, go, you will prevail, and it shall be in the end of days. And I will bring you against my land, just like God has done now in this time, this period, when God even brings an end to these lesser understandings, because God's going to show himself. We're going to find out through this great work that he has done. And God's will be sanctified through this false prophet, because God's going to destroy once again that false prophet. 17. Thus saith the Lord God, are you he of whom I spoke in old time by my servants the prophets of Israel, that prophesied in those days for many years that I would bring you against them? Thus saith the Lord God, aren't you he of whom I spoke in old time by my servants the prophets of Israel? Aren't you the one? Aren't you the one I told them I would bring up against them? Aren't you the false prophet that I said would go and prevail against them? We'll find out. This is the one who's been teaching idolatry and imagery and imaginations of men for their own wealth. God has spoke against them 1,000 times in the book. This is the same one. This is the one the prophets have been trying to tell you about. He sets himself up. He tries to make himself the highest in the land. It's the same fat seat they've made from the beginning. 18. Selling knowledge and selling understanding, when God gave you the law and gave you knowledge and gave you your wisdom even in the beginning. 18. And it shall come to pass in that day, when Gog shall come against the land of Israel, saith the Lord God, that my fury shall rise up in my nostrils. And in that day, even in that understanding, when Gog shall come up against this land of Israel, this false prophet shall come up against God's people that was contending with God. He was punishing them, and then they come up to think they can take over, saith the Lord God, that my fury shall rise up in my nostrils, and the stench of it, basically, of all this shall make me angry. Once again, 19. For in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath have I spoken. Surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel. For in my jealousy, because they have made God jealous, we'll find, setting up an image. In the fire of my wrath have I spoken, in this consuming fire of his anger. And we'll find out this is a pent-up anger even, that has been stored up. I have spoken, God says. God says he has spoken, and it shall be done. Surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel. In that day, all of it's understood. It was all a terror from the beginning. See, God caused the false prophet to deceive you, 20, so that the fishes of the sea, and the fowls of the heaven, and the beasts of the field, and all creeping things that creep upon the ground, and all the men that are upon the face of the earth, shall shake at my presence, and the mountains shall be thrown down, and the steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground. And so that the fishes of the sea, these are the fishes of these are a similitude of all the life within the waters, and these are all that live within understanding, and all the fowls of the heaven, all these birds of prey that fly through the heavens, and these are those that have a higher understanding, that use men and use people and use all things for prey. They swoop down. There's darkness under their wings. We've spoken of them many times. And the beast of the field, all those that lay in wait, lay in wait like they prey upon the souls, and creeping things that creep upon the ground, all these that go around polluting. These represent those in flesh, who have no understanding, who don't seek any understanding. They constantly polluting. They go upon the ground, the ways of men, and all the men that are upon the face of the earth. All these men, all these ones that have made this plain, that we can see it in the flesh, shall shake at my presence, and that the mountains shall be thrown down, and all the high places shall be thrown down, and all their high places, which that's how they've made themselves known, and the steep places shall fall, and all these places, this represents these high, lofty places they have made that they say we can't be brought down from, and every wall shall fall to the ground. Every wall shall fall. Every enclosure they've ever made, all the walls shall come to the ground. 21. And I will call for a sword against him throughout all my mountains, saith the Lord God. Every man's sword shall be against his brother. And I will call for a sword against him throughout all the mountains. And God did call for the sword, this judgment against him, throughout all the mountains, throughout all the high places, saith the Lord God. Every man's sword shall be against his brother, and it is. Every man's sword is against his brother. Every man's judgment is against his brother, against his own brother. Everyone has taken to their own imagery. 22. And I will plead against him with pestilence and with blood, and I will cause to rain upon him, and upon his bands, and upon the many peoples that are with him, an overflowing shower, great hailstones, fire and brimstone. And I will plead against him with pestilence and with blood, with these words of destruction, and with this sin that they do. I will cause to rain upon him. We're going to find out this rain. This rain is going to be judgment. This rain is going to be the understanding of the law of God coming down, that they have violated, they have transgressed. God says, I will plead. That's how God pleads against you in judgment. We'll find out. God, we're talking to Gog. He's that false prophet. These are those ones that are teaching you anything other than the law of God. And upon all his bands, this rain he's going to bring upon all his bands and upon the many peoples. This overflowing shower, see, this is an overflowing shower. It's like a flood. It's a flood of knowledge. It's a flood of understanding, because God is bringing the law, see, and the law will divide. And great hailstones, fire and brimstone. There's nothing good there. All these hailstones, all these great judgments and truths of God, this fire, this consuming fire, once again, it's the law of God. These brimstones, even these giant truths that are made into this consuming fire of judgments. 23. Thus will I magnify myself, and sanctify myself, and I will make myself known in the eyes of many nations, and they shall know that I am the Lord. Thus will I magnify myself. This is how I'm going to magnify myself, and sanctify myself, saith the Lord God. And I will make myself known in the eyes of many nations, just like he did when he brought the children of Israel forth out of the land of Egypt, making himself known through judgments, through these fire and this brimstone, so to speak, coming down, using it as a similitude. God magnifies himself through his judgments in the earth and through his work that he does. And we'll find out he has divided with the law. He's going to make himself known in the eyes of the many nations when he destroys the false prophet. That's who this Gog is. We're going to find out God is going to make an end of those that take part in imagery. So turn, and return. Let's move forward to chapter 39.